Hey, everybody, it's Mark Schultz here with Digital Aircraft, and I am very excited today to be able to bring to you a live broadcast that we're doing with a business associate of mine where we're going to be talking about records in aviation. Now, one of the reasons I'm so excited about this is that this has been something I've been dealing with my entire career, my entire life, where we're talking about how do we best and properly manage digital within aviation records. It's going to be a really exciting conversation. Stay here with us. You are not going to want to miss this. Excellent. And we have Bill. Hey, Bill, how are you today?
I'm absolutely marvelous. Thank you.
Very good. Bill, where are you located today?
I'm located in Germany, in Bavaria, in the beautiful part of Germany.
Excellent. Very nice. I know I've been to Germany quite a few times over my life, and there's a lot of amazing, really interesting areas. Hey, for those of you watching today, I just want to give you a quick introduction to Bill. And we're very excited about talking today, Bill, because of your experience in aviation and digital and records for so many years. But can you just tell us really who you are, what's your title, what do you do?
Okay. Well, my name is Bill Holler. I'm in this aerospace industry since 40 plus years. I'm so excited to make things happen. And well, we talk about it later.
Yeah, very good. Fantastic. I am very excited to have you here because really digital has been a passion of mine for many, many years. And, happened to have started some of my early careers in the industry, in aviation, in technical publications and in digital and managing of components and engine shops and things like that. And they've always really been a big challenge for me. And so this has really been a passion of mine, for many years. Hey, I want people just to understand a little bit more about what your background is, right now. Could you give people just a little bit more understanding of really what your history is and where you have primarily came from?
Well, it's about 40 years ago when I bought my first company in the aerospace area. And, it was a manufacturer of aerospace rivets here in Germany. And that was the first time when I realized, okay, this is not such an innovative industry that many people may think, because this industry is still using a lot of paper documentation. And that was in the very beginning of my career, because paper was all over the place. And that was the one thing that we were not be able to get rid of because of the requirements of our customers. And then later on in my career, I became the chairman of the board of the German Aerospace Standardization Institute. And then we made a norm to go new ways to install innovation in the aerospace. And then I started this other company that we will talk about any further in this conversation.
Great. So, I love hearing about the history in this because, these are areas where I've been very passionate for many, many years, where I've been wanting to be involved in digital, really in aviation. Hey, Bill, let's just take a quick pause for a minute. I like to recognize people that are out there watching. And I would just like to offer to you is if you're watching today, if you would just go ahead and just say something to us in the comments. And we'd love for you to share this or come and join us. And I appreciate, your engagement with us. So just let people know. We had so many people that registered for watching today that I'm sure there's quite a few people out there, watching today. So thanks everybody for doing that. Hey, Bill, let me come back to you for a minute. One of the things I like for people to kind of understand in their journey is most of us, are working at certain places, and we find that there are certain challenges or maybe troubled areas within our business or our work. And then we do something about it for some reason. And I'm wondering if you could just kind of give us a little bit of the journey is that what is it that you really were doing in your life, and why did you do something different, and what was the result?
I should say I started this when I was a little kid, I never did as my mother told me. I always did it a different way. And that's something I did all through my life until today. I was not happy with the things that our grandfathers already did, not with what they achieved, because they achieved a lot, but I wanted to always find a new way, my own way. That means today we say innovation, and that has driven me throughout my life.
Yeah, well, that's that's great, because I think that many of us, and we have a passion inside of us, for the problems that are out there, and we're looking for innovations and how do we change that, that becomes really a motivation or a driving, in what we do. So that's really interesting. I'm really glad to hear that. Hey, listen, let's get into some more specifics. Everybody watching out there today, I want to tell you that one of the things that I saw when I first met Bill is that I was thinking about all the challenges and how he's addressing some of the digital, issues that are out there. But I wanted to start out our conversation today and saying, what are some of the problems that we're seeing in the industry today, really that businesses are faced with? So what are airlines faced with in managing digital and digital records, or what are engine overhaul companies, or, components, or, Bill, what are you seeing that people are really faced with, that they're challenged with today?
When you talked about problems, I was thinking, well, the most those challenges, I would call them, that I'm seeing are the problems that are invisible, the things that we've always did that way. Nobody thinks about them. We just do them because we were trained to do them, and we don't even think about it. And innovation means let's ask the right questions. Do we really need to do it that way, or are there better ways? And to put it in perspectives, if we think about the paper archiving in this industry, we have a figure in Europe alone. The costs for paper archiving and handling in the aerospace industry, that's more than $80 million every year. So I think that is a problem, even if many people don't see it, because it's what they've been doing all their lives.
Yeah, I would really agree with that. Hey, somebody just threw up a comment that I really like there in the bottom. It says lack of agreement. And, we really see this. We see a lack of agreement of what standardization for digital, what it really means. And so I think we see challenges like that exist out there is that, what do you do? Do you use paper? Do you use PDFs? Do you use some kind of intelligent digitals? I mean, are you seeing that kind of, question happening from people out there?
Well, I'm not so sure if I get the message correctly of that question. As I indicated before, I was the chairman of the German and the TA director of the European Aerospace Standardization, and there we could really do something against these or for the innovation here, and we've made standards that allow to go digital instead of using paper. And of course, paper and the typical archiving of PDFs, that's quite the same. But to go the real digital route with protecting that information with blockchain technology means that you have a very safe and accurate information.
Bill, I've been very engaged and excited about digital for many, many years. Okay. And a few weeks ago, I was at a conference in Dallas, all right? And I met with a guy who ran an engine company, all right? And I told him, a lease company, an engine leasing company, all right? And he said he was leasing out engines. And I asked him, I said, what is your requirement for digital, maintaining, managing records, and, when you get the engine back? And he said, I don't care. He says, I don't care if I get paper back. And, I was a little bit frustrated. And I said, why don't you care? And he said, because, it doesn't help me from a cost or a revenue perspective. He said, if somebody doesn't give me the records back, I just charge them more money, And I was so challenged because I was saying, how do we create better records, and how do we, manage, things better, and how do we reduce cost for everybody? And so when I look at somebody saying that, hey, these challenges for what is accepted in the industry and what people do or what people don't do, there's people out there 2-3 weeks ago that I've talked to that don't care if they get paper back. I mean, isn't that challenging?
Well, it's really interesting. First of all, you were in Dallas, and maybe at the very same time, I was only 20 miles down the road because I was in Fort Worth at the SAE conference. And we were talking about the digitalization there. And what this person said to you from this engine company, first, it offended me because I said, well, maybe he doesn't know the risk he's living in. And then the second thought was, well, maybe he's right. That's exactly how it should be. But it is not yet there. Once the industry goes digital, that's exactly the right position. Hey, I don't care about it because it's being taken care of. But in order to get there, we have to do something.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, so let's talk about what people do. We said there's problems, and some of the problems that I've seen for many, many years. Listen, I've been involved in records and technical publications for over 30 years at an airline. Okay. And so, and today we find ourselves that so many people have paper, people have, PDFs of those documents. There may be certification problems. We're seeing that some people put those into, full digital, but people don't even know what that really means. And so really the question is that when we have those kind of problems that exist, what are some of the solutions that people could be doing, just from an execution standpoint?
Yeah. Well, maybe we have some viewers here who are not so familiar in that particular requirements of the aerospace industry. I want to repeat that, or point out that archiving of technical documentation of quality certificates and stuff like this throughout the whole supply chain and for all the lifetime of the product, that is quite a challenge. Such an aircraft may fly for 30 plus years, and it may have taken 10 plus years to provide all the products in there. So that means from a manufacturer standpoint, you may have to secure your documentations for 30 or 40 years in reality. And this is not only for the aircraft manufacturer, it's also for the product manufacturers and suppliers. That's a huge challenge. And well, the situation as it is today, people put it in their shelves in warehouses. They try to protect it from mice, from light, from anything, with limited success, I would say. And in case something happens, something like you suddenly get a call from FAA and they say, you got to give me those records of that plane. It's been built 25 years ago. Go ahead and give it to me. You have the weekend and then I need the information. That kind of moment, no entrepreneur wants to live through that, because that information is almost not traceable. Now, that is only one requirement. Why? The technologies that we have on hand today, and the combination of technologies, digital plus blockchain, secure archiving, cloud technology, put them together. And this is something that is very easy today to be taken care of.
Yeah. Let's get to that in a second. I saw an interesting comment that somebody sent in here, a tool. And I just see that we all have these challenges and these struggles that are really put before us. And, a tool says here, it's very difficult to handle at the time of redelivery of an aircraft. Digital is easier, but what if some of the documents that you need to modify or correct or correction is required? And I frequently see people that actually have documents that are not accurately corrected, or there's multiple documents, or they haven't been signed properly, or, Bill, what do you say to that?
Oh, I love this question. It's a great question, because that's how it was done in the past. There was some paper and somebody found, oh, well, they didn't spell the figures correctly, or we now changed the part number. So they scratched it out. They put a new number in, or words or whatever, and this is simply not possible. No document in the digital world, in our digital world, no document can be changed. But of course, the document through the lifetime of the product can be updated with additional information, with new maintenance protocols, with new quality inspection protocols. But all of this, only staggered one above the other, so you will never lose the original documentation.
Yeah. You know what? As I think about the challenges that people are faced with out there, is we know that people need to have accurate records for components and for aircraft, and many times we find that the records are, missing or incomplete, or they're not properly completed, or we find that maybe there's a component and all the records aren't there for the component. And I've seen people that have actually had to go back and check things on the aircraft and actually have to redo, component overhauls in order to be able to verify the records. And, and we've seen fraudulent, documents, fraudulent, components and things out there because the records are not accurately kept track of. And so there are so many challenges that we're really faced with. So, Bill, I can see that these are the reasons, some of the reasons why you're doing these kind of things. So let's shift to the next question. Really is let's talk about TraCert as your company. Now, we know why you would address these things. Tell me what it is that what is TraCert, and what are you doing to basically help people that are in these challenges and in these problems?
As I was telling you about my strive for innovation, that was one of the things I really been waiting for. I thought somebody has to do something about that paper world in aerospace, and there has to be a solution out there. But I found out, well, actually there wasn't. So I took the opportunity of being an entrepreneur myself. I took the opportunity and started this company, TraCert, in Estonia. I choose Estonia, which is in the farthest north of Europe, because Estonia is a diamond of digitalization. This whole country is digital. We have such a high knowledge about digitalization there. It's incredible. So I started the company, and this company has its capital, his base in the capital of Estonia, in Tallinn. And we developed this solution with a lot of really high-level engineers, with a lot of people who come from the aerospace industry, who know the requirements really well, but also know the reality of the supply chain and so on, And we developed this solution, which is a highly integratable solution as for the small companies and for the end user. So it's between the little shop down the road and Boeing or Airbus at the end.
Now, I'm starting to understand really the functionality and the business problem that you're trying to solve. Now, we've talked a little bit about that there's certain special technology that's involved. And, you bring up the word blockchain, or we show blockchain pictures. And I'd like to better understand how that fits in, because, there's certain people that have very positive engagement with blockchain, and certain people that say, well, maybe that's not the right full solution. What have you done to leverage blockchain, and how does that fit into the records, themselves?
Well, thank you for this question. I'm actually a bit proud to talk about this. Because of this experience with cryptocurrency, I hated blockchain. I totally hated it because, I spent a lot of time in China. I've seen some of these organizations who do the crypto mining and stuff like this, with all the energy wasted because of all this. Now, we used a totally different aspect of blockchain. We call it the green blockchain technology. That means we don't put the documents of our clients into the blockchain, but we take this bundle of documents for a particular item. We create a hash code out of this document, and we put the hash code, which is not more than a fingerprint. We put the hash code in the blockchain. And when the documents are retrieved, the documents from the database will be compared with the hash code. And if they both match, then you have this revision-proof security. It's the original document, and it works perfectly.
So Bill, just if I can understand what you just said, is it you basically have put together a hybrid kind of a solution which leverages the accuracy and the inability to really change or to have accurate information that comes from the blockchain, as well as the storage environment, that comes from an online environment, and put those together to have the value proposition from having controlled blockchain content or data or tags and information connected to records that are out there. Is that a correct response?
Perfect. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Hey, listen, we got a couple of questions that have been asked here. Maybe I could go down to them. There's one. It's a second from the bottom there. Maybe we could just ask that one real quick here. How are you? There you go. How are you dividing that documentation? I'm not 100% certain what that means, but maybe it's what I just said. What do you think? What do you think he's asking there?
Well, maybe I should say that our system is built in a way that every user has the full authority over his data. We actually don't see any data from our users. We just provide the platform. A typical user will, for example, scan his documents, upload them directly from his IT system like SAP or whatever, and then puts it on our cloud, and he receives a QR code back. So through that QR code or UUID that he will receive, he always has the full access to his document, and he's the only one who has it until he decides to give this QR code to somebody else, for example, his customer. And if his customer is registered, this customer will be able to really see the documents from the cloud. Nobody else will.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Hey, listen, somebody asked a question that is kind of wanting a little bit of an understanding of what the value can be, the problem in the understanding. Could you throw that up there real quick from Rick? It says there that the reality of digital records is that they are only as good as the person scanning the records, and he knows what he's looking at and the knowledge of the regulatory requirements. But then it says today there are too many companies scanning records and they have no clue of what's required in the real life. And so how do we take that challenge of not having things done properly to getting that in people's hands that can make it easier, but they're doing it to meet regulations? How do we deal with that?
Perfect. That's another very good example, very good question. This is the human factor, which is still there at the very beginning where the documents are made. It was there not until today, not only where the documents are made, but also where the documents are handled, copied, manually archived, and so on. The additional steps of human factor are all gone. Only this one remains. Yes, it remains.
Yeah. I know I said this earlier, but I just got to say this again, is it's so frustrating for me because I've seen companies that like lease components or they lease aircraft or whatever, and they go to return them and the records aren't accurate or they're not complete or they're not, comprehensive. And they end up going back and checking or redoing maintenance, which is very, very costly. I mean, I literally worked with a company that they said, okay, the leasing company said, there's a $2 million, fee because these records aren't right. Okay. And so what they did is they had to go back and recheck things and take components off in order to be able to get rid of that $2 million. And wouldn't it be great if they could have come back and said, oh no, we have these accurate records here, here, and here, because there's been a better job of managing them. I mean, I've just seen that so much, Bill, out there in the industry. Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, listen, if you guys have other questions out there, feel free to bring them out, or, if you want to ask Bill something. So, Bill, let me ask you this, is that from the people that you've worked with so far, what do you really think that the most valuable things that they're getting are? What do people feel like is really the biggest value that they get from doing this kind of an approach?
Okay. Well, of course, I mentioned the figure in the very beginning, like these 80 million handling costs, pure handling costs for the documentation in the aircraft industry, $80 million every year in Europe. But, digitalization is much more than just cost savings. Actually, the cost saving aspect is the least one of it, because in this moment, and many of our clients and many of the partners we are talking to understand this already. That's why they're driving this so strongly. Once we are in the digital world with the paper archives today, going through scanners to all kinds of things into the digital world, we will have technologies in future driven by AI, driven by available technologies of today, which will be able to draw important information out of these archives and registers. I mean, think about what happens if we understand, or we really can read information that's hidden in our paper archives. What incredible amount of information from our grandfathers, from our predecessors, and maybe even from last week is hidden in those archives. And we are trying to do climate neutral flying. That means we are trying to come up with totally new aircraft. We need information. We need to know much more about materials, about technical, physical values, and so on, in order to really stand on the shoulders of our predecessors and go new ways. And that is why digitalization opens those hidden archives.
Yeah, and I can't agree with you anymore. Is that I know we had a couple of quick pictures that I'd like to just show to people here. That one of them is that you're giving information to people, and I see you're putting them here quickly and accessibly on a mobile device. So, kind of, what's your vision or what's your approach for doing these things?
Well, it's good that you show that mobile device, because for our system, that's the easiest way to create or to read such information. The software was developed as a browser-based software, and it works perfectly on mobile devices, on every desktop thing, and so on. But I would like to give you one example, because I was talking about that it's not only the cost saving and so on. Let me give you that example. When I drove the first time with a rental car in the United States, it was in 1987 or so. At that time, the cars had a really wide seat in front, so you could have 3 people sitting next to each other in the front. Actually, you couldn't, because the right seat on the passenger side was always occupied with the Rand McNally Road Atlas. I wanted to know where to go, so I needed that road atlas, and it was so large, I wouldn't have found anything other than that. If somebody would have told me at that time, you can order a pizza with that road atlas, even I would have said, what are you talking about? Now, think about what digitalization has done to this example. Today, we have this Rand McNally Road Atlas here in our pockets. We can order a pizza. It shows us even how to drive. It does so many things because it has gone into the digital world. And that's the same that's going to happen with the paper archiving when it goes digital, and it will help to serve the aerospace industry worldwide.
Yeah, so I see that there's different actions that we need to take. That first of all, we didn't understand on maybe what the opportunities were, and then they're getting taken, and we start to understand them better. Somebody has asked a question about maybe some of the requirements about risk. Can we throw that up there on the screen real quick? And maybe you can see if we can answer that. Is that how are you addressing risks associated with cybersecurity, as highlighted by the WF and the major emerging risks that you have? So basically, my question is that how are you addressing? What are the risks, and how are you addressing risks in a situation like this?
I have mentioned that our company TraCert, is located in Estonia. And Estonia is a country who knows very well how to deal with risks. To give you a figure, the little country of Estonia, before the Ukraine war started, had daily attacks from Russia of more than 80,000. Attacks every day, digital attacks every day. Now, they damn well know how to protect themselves. In our, of course, we are taking all these precautions, but the question is very important. How do we protect these risks? First of all, for typical applications, the AWS cloud, the worldwide AWS cloud, is used to store the data. Second, if you don't have the UUID, you will not be able to find data there. It's impossible. You cannot find it. And in the most unlikely case somebody would find them, you cannot pretend it's the original information, because it's hashed, and hashes in blockchain. And the data and the hash are on totally different locations. So at least from today's standpoint, I can say this system is very, very, very much protected. And of course, we have had people in auditors who checked this, so I do not say this very lightly.
Yeah, very good. No, I can believe that, especially when you put in, things like blockchain and things like that, which have a lot of really high detail requirements around them. Somebody had another question that I wanted to bring up real quick, and it's always going to be there. Is that what do you do as a backup? So the question is that how do you make sure that what you have is backed up, for example?
I would want to raise this question to Amazon. What do they do to back up the AWS? And maybe there are governments, even parts of the American government and others, who have the same question, and obviously they have had good answers from them. So we are in a good company with the data security and the backup systems that are in place.
Of everybody, because many years ago, we put our floppy disk or our backup drive onto the single computer and said that was safe. And today these things are very different. We go to AWS and we go to online services, and the reliability and backups we have are thousands of times more better or more reliable than what we did, many years ago. So I think that's a great question. And I think that just bringing that to our attention is really good.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah, good. Well, hey, listen, I want to ask you a question is that, if people are interested in this topic and they just need to learn more and they want to dig into it, kind of deeper, a couple of things I want to ask is that number one is how can they reach out to you to get information? I think we have an email address and a website here that we could just throw up. So that is the company website, or?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, very good. And then we have a email address which they can reach out to get further information. Now, what I wanted to ask further than that is if somebody wanted to, say, potentially engage with you and better understand, this process, or maybe what the opportunities or challenges are, do you have any kind of a trial program, or is there anything anyone can look at, or what can somebody do as part of that?
Well, I really appreciate that question, because we thought that using that opportunity of this live broadcast here, we will not do a product demonstration or something like this. Although it would be very easy to do, because the product is really comfortable and easy to use. But we want to offer the viewers of this broadcast a special offer. Just try it. You will get it for 3 months free of charge. You can try it free of charge. Look at it yourself. We will even train you how to do it, because we're so convinced about the product. And we have several customers who have already thousands and thousands of documents in that system.
Yeah, very good. So if they want to get in touch with you, they can go to the email. Let's put the email back up there again real quick. So if somebody wants to get in touch with Bill or some of the team, they can go to contact@cert-trace.com. And if you're interested in either learning more information, or if you're actually literally interested in potentially, getting a trial or something like that, I think that's a great offer, because it takes time and effort, to be able to do this. And, we've seen all across the industry, lots and lots of challenges, and it's really good. So, hey, listen, I want to ask you one question here, if I could, because I think this is always important to people. Is I just want to understand from your perspective is that, what's caused you, as a person to engage in this? What's really your passion? What's caused you to get involved in this kind of, activity in the aviation industry? I'd just like to know where you're coming from.
I have a strong desire to help the society I'm working in to become better, to go forward, and to really change, to adapt to new requirements. And I know that I cannot lean back and wait for somebody else to do it. Well, I'm taking the opportunity and do it.
Yeah, and I think that many times we're looking for people that can help us, that have experience and are willing to just engage. I always am. And so I really appreciate that, and, your perspective in doing that. And so for those of you watching, I'm Mark Schultz with Digital Aircraft, and one of my goals in life is just to help people. I've talked to or helped 1,000 people in the last couple of years, like this call here today. And it's just because I like understanding the industry and what's happening and how we solve these things. And so I hope those of you watching today have, gotten some value from this initial conversation. But if you really want to understand better and what, TraCert can do for you, reach out to Bill and have a conversation with him, and just see what you can do, to have an idea of, how these challenges really, can be solved. So thank you very much. Go ahead.
May I have a last word here?
Please.
I wanted to say there are many areas in life where paper is inevitable. The aerospace industry isn't one of them.
All I'm going to say is I believe you. I've seen it for many years. And, a couple of years ago, I was still out there trying to convince the FAA or the government agencies all around the world that they should go completely digital. And they continued to put up requirements and details and things which made it difficult to do it. But a couple of years ago, when we had all these worldwide events that were happening and we had to have more emphasis on digital, all I can tell you is that I have believed what you just said for 20 or 30 years. It's been difficult to get everything in place to be able to make it happen. Today, people are doing this. And so if you can find a good vendor, somebody looking to support you, and a good solution and a good technology, those of you watching, you should look at it. You should look at seriously doing it, because now is the time. Reach out to Bill, at certtrace.com. And if you want to have further follow-up questions, I encourage you to do that, because I've been impressed with what I've seen before. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here today and, providing your conversation today, Bill.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Great. Hey, everybody. I always like ending by saying fair winds and following seas, to you. Have a great journey and follow the things that are your passion, and digital happens to be one of mine, and I see it in you, Bill. Thank you for joining me today. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.